kind of put on this pedestal as this example. Someone in my family ended up being really hurt by the church. Was just getting into bad situations, being really drunk along with guys in bad situations with people that I didn't know. Do this, I want it to feel real. I want it to be genuine. I don't want it to look like, it was like he was grabbing my face and saying like, you have no idea what I have in store for you. Hi friends. So in today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about my story and my background, and I've had so much fun doing this YouTube channel so far. It's been amazing, but I really want you guys to understand all of me and why me changing my life this last year has been so significant and why I decided to do that. So in this video, I am going to talk a little bit about some heavier things. So if that's not something that you're here for, totally understandable, but know that going into this video, there's some more heavier, serious topics that I want to talk about and cover and talk about my experience with those things. One thing that I don't want to happen from this video is I feel like sometimes when people share their story or their testimony, it almost kind of creates this environment of trauma bonding. And I don't want that to come from this video. I want this to be a story of hope. And it really is. There's way more hope in this than sadness. I think sometimes in our modern society, we're taught that to have empathy means that if someone is sitting down in a hole, that means that you need to go sit in the hole with them, just to be with them. And that wasn't my experience that actually helped. I had people do that where when I was sitting in a hole of depression or anxiety, they would sit with me and that was nice and all, but what really got me out of it was the people that threw a rope down to me and said, I'm gonna hold on to this rope and I'm not letting go of this rope until you're out of danger, until you're out of the hole. I'm gonna stay here as long as it takes, even if my arms are tired, even if my back hurts, I'm gonna stay here and hold this rope so that you can get to safety. And I think if anything, that's the kind of bonding that I'm wanting from this video, not the trauma bonding type of bond. All that being said, I would like to tell a little bit of my background, and I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a professional. This is purely just friend to friend, me sharing my experience and kind of opening the floor to whoever wants to share their experience or how they got out of it, and kind of the good, the bad, the ugly of real life. I was raised in a Christian church, in a non-denominational Christian family, went to private school and was fairly protected all throughout my childhood and through high school. And I always had this relationship with God. I always had this, like, I always knew that he was real. I always prayed, and it wasn't really something that I ever questioned. So growing up, I always wanted to please the people around me. That was always something that was pretty second nature for me. Like, I wanted to be a people pleaser. I wanted my parents to be proud of me. I wanted my teachers to be proud of me, and I wanted to do a good job in just life in general. And so even though my relationship with God was real and I believed in him, it kind of turned into this performative becoming a professional Christian, if that makes sense, where it was focused more on church culture more so than actually a relationship with God. And I worked at a church, and I was in small groups, and I was a speaker at Christian events, and like small in my town Christian events. And I really focused on the purity, saving myself for marriage. And so fast forward to me being 22 years old, and I have never been in a relationship. I've never kissed someone, never had sex, obviously, or anything like that. Not really having any sort of interaction with men or dating in any way, really. And I was really praised for this. I was kind of put on this pedestal as this example of what it means to be a good Christian girl. And I think I really relied on that. But I think what people didn't see, and what I didn't even see at the time, was that past that layer of being this perfect good Christian girl, I was so stuck. I felt so stuck. I felt like I was completely frozen. The thought of being around men or being pursued or seen as romantic or anything like that just scared the crap out of me. And I completely shut down and would just run the other way from it. And I just it felt so foreign for me to even think of myself in a romantic or sexual environment. And I felt so stuck. And I just started to really struggle. And at the time, I was really having real doubts in my faith too. Just like the practical side of what makes my religion correct and not other people's religion. And I just started really reeling of like wondering, like, how do I know that this thing that I've been believing in is actually true, and it's not make believe, and it's not just a culture. And I'm kind of looking around feeling like I'm only seeing people that are being good Christians for the sake of being good Christians. And I don't understand why people are doing what they're doing, like if there's no reason behind it besides just getting accolades in church. And at the time there was even more going on because someone in my family ended up being abused in church. Oof. It ended up being this huge, big mess. And it was the church that I worked at, and all of a sudden I just felt like the ground underneath me was moving. And seeing how that abuse affected the person in my family, and seeing how the church responded, it just made me question everything. Because at that point, like, since my faith was more so invested in the Christian culture side of things, seeing the culture fail made my faith fail. And I was starting to question everything, and I just felt angry. I just felt so angry and so disappointed and so frustrated that I just didn't even know how to be part of the church. And I think a lot of people have experienced this. They have experienced being let down by the church or Christians or whatever that might be. So I experienced that. And at the time, like, I just started spending time with different people. And I started going to bars and drinking a lot and just being a part of this kind of like party scene. And it honestly felt very freeing. It felt like I didn't have to be perfect. I didn't have all these expectations. I wasn't the example. I wasn't someone that knew all the answers. I was able to just be a person. And it was interesting during that time, as my faith was struggling, as I was kind of experimenting with different lifestyles and just really questioning my faith. And at the time, like, I wasn't just, oh, I don't get it, so I'm just gonna go to the bars and get drunk. Like, it wasn't like that. I was doing research. I was reading about, like, why should I believe in this faith? I was reading A Case for Christ and different books that were supporting the historical documentation that made my faith supported and legit. But still at the same time, like, even with all this research and the facts on paper, I was just struggling. And I just felt angry and lost. And it was interesting because at the time, I remember reaching out to a couple of women that were like, they had wanted me to be a mentor for their daughter. And I remember asking them, like, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm really struggling. I'm having some big questions. And the response was so surprising. It was this response of like, oh, then you can't spend time with my daughter. Like, you serve no purpose anymore. Like, it felt like I was just stripped of a job title, instead of them coming alongside of me and helping me with my questions and being alongside me during that time. It felt like I had just lost my value, and which pissed me off even more. And so that reaction made me lean more into the party scene, going to bars, drinking, all that stuff. And at the time, I had kind of realized that, oh, like, when I am a little buzzed, when I have a little alcohol in my system, then I feel like I can flirt with people, and I feel like I am confident and relaxed enough to have people flirt with me. And all of a sudden, it was like opening this door to, like, the first time that I was ever able to even have an opportunity to have any sort of romantic anything in my life. And it felt so good. Like, it felt, because I mean, as it should, like, we are meant to feel romantic feelings. We are meant to have a sexuality. We are meant to want to have connection in relationships. That's just how we're made. And so met a guy, started dating him, had my first real relationship with him, and still trying to do kind of the Christian sort of no sex before marriage, like, trying to do it, quote, right. And it just crashed and burned miserably. And definitely ended up very heartbroken from it. So as I continued to get more into this lifestyle and, like, partying on the weekends, going out to bars, drinking a lot, I just was getting myself into bad situations, and situations that weren't safe. And long story short, I ended up getting hurt from one of those situations. Sexual assault happened, physical assault happened, and something changes in the mind of a woman when you experience something like that. It just kind of flips a switch to where it almost felt like I deserved it. Like, it felt like I deserved to be hurt or punished, or it kind of became this self-harm getting myself into bad situations or being used or taken advantage of or hurt, or even, you know, hurting myself in ways, it became how do I say these things? So the more that I got involved into this lifestyle, the more that I was just getting into bad situations, being really drunk alone with guys, in bad situations with people that I didn't know, and bad things happened. I was hurt, and it really kind of started this spiral in me of, okay, well, obviously sex and stuff like that just doesn't matter. And so it kind of just turned into me being with whoever I wanted, sleeping with whoever. I continued to feel angry and confused in my faith, and which was interesting because I still remember talking to God at the time. Like, I never really fully stopped my relationship with God, but I think that it just confused me as to how I was supposed to present my faith and how I was supposed to live that out in a way that was genuine, when I felt like what I was seeing in church wasn't genuine. And then now being involved on the other side of this, where it's more of like the party bar scene, drinking, like where people weren't religious or anything, I'm starting to see that there's holes in that too, that is so performative. And I remember I had this like realization where I was sitting in a room with the guy that I was dating at the time, and I was looking around in the room, and all of a sudden I just had this epiphany of like, everyone here is just trying to look cool and trying to feel loved and in self-protection mode, and they're trying to get attention from the opposite sex and have people think that they're cool and wantable, and like they're just performing. And the same thing that I was seeing in the church, I started seeing in the bar scene, to where like people were just trying to feel fulfilled in something. I just felt like a mess, and I felt like so lost in anxiety and just feeling so apathetic and so depressed. And I wouldn't say that it was something that I really showed on the outside like maybe other people would, but it definitely was going on. I kind of hit this point last year where I felt so hopeless. I just felt like my life was pointless. Like that feeling of purpose and of hope and meaning had just been gone for so long that I kind of just felt like, well, if my life means nothing, like why not just sleep around? Why not get drunk and like make it a little bit more fun? If that's all that matters, then like why wouldn't I just be the best at it? And so those habits started to really affect my health and my life and my relationships and friendships, and I just did not feel good about myself. And it really wasn't until my parents came to me and they noticed that something was wrong and that I wasn't acting like myself, and it really felt like a rock bottom to me. Like I shared everything about the relationships and the sexual assault and the drinking and just all my unhealthy habits, I just spewed out of me. And it felt so good just to start getting it out, and I just started to cry, and I cried for like 3 days. I decided that something had to change. So that's when I sat down with God. That looked a lot like me saying, God, I don't know what to do. I don't understand why I'm feeling this way. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to change, but I know that I need to change. And if you can make that happen, if you can take away this anxiety or depression or this need to drink or party, then I'll do it. I will do it. I will trust you. I just don't know how to do it. And if we do this, I want it to feel real. I want it to be genuine. I don't want it to look like what I saw in church. I don't want it to look like anything performative. I don't want to go back and be Brittany the example on this pedestal that has all this pressure, that knows all the answers. I don't want to be that anymore. So if I'm going to come back to you, and if we're going to do this, then you need to show me how to do it the right way and in a way that is genuine and authentic. Like his response, like it wasn't an I told you so. It wasn't a have we learned our lesson yet? Like it wasn't anything like that. It was like he was grabbing my face and saying, like, you have no idea what I have in store for you. You have no idea the gifts that I want to give you. You have no idea who I created you to be. I created you to be this strong. And it was like I could see myself through his eyes. Like I could see who he made me to be. I could see this like strong and beautiful and funny and courageous and carefree version of myself that was just so beautiful. It was like I could see myself through his eyes, and that completely changed me. That completely changed, oh, I'm getting like goosebumps just talking about it. Like it completely changed everything for me. All of a sudden it was like, if I can be that, if I can be that woman that is the most beautiful and cool person that I've ever met, if that's supposed to be me, how do I do that? How do I become a woman that is strong and grounded and carefree and has this rootedness about her? It was like I could see myself glowing from the inside, and I just looked so happy and I know that that might sound kind of strange for some people, but I think what you have to understand is, like, with a relationship with God, in order for it to work, it has to be kind of mystical. Like it has to be out of this world. It has to be supernatural. Like in order for me to want to change my life for this and want to die for it and commit my life to this, it has to be something that works. It has to be something that is experiential and that I know that there's meat to what I'm believing in. And there was something about seeing that picture of myself. It was like I was experiencing him. It was like I could feel him in the room. I could feel who I was made to be. And there was like this exchange of like me handing like this fake version of myself, which was Brittany, the professional Christian, the church girl that was Miss Purity, that knew everything, that was this example, it was that version of myself. And then I was handing him the version of myself that was this cool party girl that, you know, could drink like no one else and whatever. I was giving both of these false identities over to him, and he was in exchange giving me the gift of, this is who I actually want you to be. This is who I created you to be. And as we wipe all that away, we are exposing what you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to be in me. And when I saw that that was an option, I didn't care about the Christian culture. I didn't care if I sounded too Christianese or if people of like the world thought that I was cool, or it didn't matter if I fit into a box. It didn't matter if I fit into a group of people. It just felt like, if there is any way for me to be that person that you just showed me, if that's real, I would give anything for it. I would die to be able to have that peace about me, to have that purpose in me. And that's what it was. Like, it felt like all of a sudden I had this purpose. And I think that's what the Bible means when it talks about God gives you a hope and a future. In that moment, that is all of a sudden what I had. I had a hope and I had a future. But more than anything, it felt like during that time, it felt like God was just saying, like, just put the blinders on, just focus on me, just put your eyes forward and keep walking. And so that's what I started doing. And that's when he started telling me like to make space in my life. And that's where minimalism really helped me. It was a helpful tool for me to put some of those things to practice. Like, if he's telling me to make space, that means like I want to make physical space in my life. I don't want to rely on things or boys or bars or stuff to comfort me anymore. And so I feel like over the last year, even though I've had a relationship with God my whole life, and even throughout that time, even me doubting my faith in the church and all of that, I think I still had this relationship with God, even if it was really distant. So that's why over the last year, as you guys have been watching my channel and my videos and my growth, that's what I've been going through. I've been practically applying, like, how do I declutter and make space? How do I get rid of surface level relationships and meaningless things in my life? And how do I replace it with purpose? How do I replace it with something that actually makes me feel alive and makes me feel like that true identity version of me that God showed me I could be and that I was meant to be? And I definitely do not understand it all, and I'm still learning how to do that in an authentic way. Partially what I've been sharing in this channel is the practical ways that that's manifested and the spiritual ways that it's manifested. And so this is kind of the behind the scenes of the spiritual side of it that really is the part that has made the biggest difference, the biggest change. That's the thing that has changed me. Not minimalism, not decluttering my house, not making my house cozy for fall, or, you know, whatever it might be. Like, those are just byproducts of this change. And if you try and start with just decluttering your house, or not drinking for a year, or not spending money, or like whatever it is, if you try and just start with those, like, it's not gonna last. At least it didn't for me. If you start with the spiritual side of it, and let the rest flow out of that, that's something that can actually last. And there is a genuine way of going about it. There is an authentic way of pursuing a real relationship with God in a way that works, in a way that's experiential and that changes your life and who you are. And I've lived it, I've experienced it, and I want people to know as they watch this channel that that is the thing that has been changing me. Not just getting rid of stuff or losing 15 pounds or like whatever it might be. Like, those things are just byproducts that flowed out of this. And it was easy. It didn't feel hard to lose weight or to stop spending or get rid of my stuff. It hasn't really felt difficult because it's something that I want to do. Like, it just feels like it's getting in the way of me knowing God and God showing me who that true identity is. That person that has a purpose, that has a peace about them, that has a freedom. I want to be that person. I want that. That's my free gift from him, and all I have to do is walk into it. And that has been what has changed me. I think I mainly wanted to make this video so that I could speak to the people that are in that place. You're made for more, and if you feel like you are made for a purpose, then don't ignore that feeling. And I want to be the person that is holding the rope as you're sitting down in the hole, giving you a way out. And I want you to know that there is a way out, and I'm not perfect, and I'm not fully, and I don't fully know how to do it perfectly, and I'm still learning so much, but I've been experiencing the victory and the joy in this enough to know that it does work and that it is real. It is so worth having those hard conversations with God, because you can come alive in Christ, and it really is like a being born again. You really feel like a different person, and it's so worth it. It's so fun. I know that sounds strange because I don't think that that's always what being a Christian is associated with, but it feels so fun and exciting, and it feels like such an adventure. I wish that I had more eloquent words and better ways of explaining so that people could understand the weight of what I've experienced in God and what I'm still experiencing in him. But I'm sure you'll see more over time of how this is continually changing me and how I am changing and growing in God. So I will see you guys in the next video for some more fun, lighthearted stuff, hopefully. Bye.